They never expected humanity to return. To the galaxy, Earth was a myth, a ruined world whose people had vanished 500,000 years ago. Our name was a whisper, our species a cautionary tale told in the council halls of younger civilizations. Humanity, they said, had reached too far, too fast, and burned itself out among the stars. But myths, as history often proves, are only stories waiting for witnesses. When the application arrived at the Galactic Council, it didn't come from some desperate frontier colony or rising empire. It came from Sol. No introduction. No ambassadors. Just a clean, quiet data packet that said, simply, humanity requests admission to the Council as an independent sovereign civilization. The transmission was signed, United Terran Directorate. For most of the Council, it was impossible. Humanity was extinct. And yet, the signal was authentic. Verified, cross-checked, time-stamped by ancient Earth-based encryption protocols no one else could replicate. The galaxy held its breath. The Council debated for months. The elder races, the Sera, the Kotau, the Viren, dismissed it as a hoax, a clever imitation by some upstart polity hoping to gain influence. But not everyone agreed. The Harari, the oldest neutral species in the galaxy, spoke first. They said, if the humans have returned, the equilibrium of the stars will shift once more. And that was enough to make everyone nervous. Because even after 500,000 years, the word human still carried weight. It was a word that meant chaos, innovation, and survival at any cost. The Council eventually sent a delegation, a small, symbolic mission, to verify the claim. They expected ruins, perhaps automated machines mimicking life. What they found was something else. The fleet emerged near Sol under the faint light of a yellow star. And there it was, Earth. Blue. Alive. Reborn. Cities gleamed where once there had been ashes. Orbital rings wrapped the planet like silver halos. And the ships that greeted them weren't primitive relics. They were quiet, symmetrical, and disturbingly efficient, no ornamentation, no wasted motion. The humans didn't broadcast threats or welcomes. Only coordinates for docking. Captain Alarin of the Council vessel Tvir described it best in her log. They move like they've done this before. Like they've done everything before. The delegation was met not by soldiers, but by representatives, calm, reserved, and impossible to read. Their language was precise. Their gestures, minimal. Their eyes, old. They didn't boast of their return. They didn't ask for sympathy or recognition. They only submitted their documentation, millennia of historical data, socio-political frameworks, and proof of their genetic lineage to the extinct Homo sapiens sapiens. They called themselves Terrans. When asked why they had resurfaced after so long, their spokesperson, Director Crowley, replied simply. We were never gone. Only, preparing. That phrase unsettled the Council. Preparing for what? Behind closed doors, whispers grew. The Sera Empire, proud and vast, had ruled the galactic core for 3,000 years. Their fleets numbered in the millions, their technology second to none. To them, the humans' return was an insult, a shadow cast on their supremacy. They argued that admitting humanity to the Council would be a mistake. That species who vanish do not simply return without reason. The Harari, ever silent observers, disagreed. They reminded the Council that humanity's last known act before extinction was an attempt to warn the galaxy of something else. A greater threat that had never been identified. That reminder silenced the chamber. No one had ever found what the humans were afraid of. No one had ever looked. And yet, as debates stretched across months, small things began to happen. Council listening posts detected faint anomalies near the outer rim, gravitational fluctuations with no clear source. Trading networks began receiving encrypted messages, written in dead Terran ciphers, speaking of the Watchers and the Great Reclamation. The Sarah dismissed it as human myth-making, psychological warfare to sow uncertainty. But some species remembered old legends, the ones buried in ancient archives. Legends of human fleets that vanished into the void, promising to return when the stars themselves turned cold. Eventually, the Council reached its decision. By narrow margin, humanity was granted provisional membership, an act many believed was driven more by curiosity than acceptance. And so, for the first time in 500,000 years, the name humanity was spoken again in the Great Hall. The Terran delegation accepted without celebration. Director Crowley only said, "We thank the Council for its consideration. Cooperation is preferable. Preferable. Not essential." It was a word that stuck in everyone's mind long after the humans departed. That night, a single Sarah official, Grand Minister Sautel, broke protocol and transmitted a private message to the Terran fleet. He asked a question no one else dared voice. Why now? Why return, after so long? Crowley's reply came an hour later. Because someone has to remember what's coming. In the months that followed, nothing seemed to change. The humans remained quiet, almost invisible, participating in council proceedings with clinical detachment. They shared no technology, requested no trade routes, offered no alliances. They observed. Listened. Waited. But the galaxy was already shifting. Within 6 months of their return, border systems began reporting strange disappearances. Outposts found abandoned, data wiped clean, as if the occupants had simply walked away. And through it all, the Terrans said nothing. To most of the galaxy, humanity was still a mystery, an old ghost come to haunt the stars. But to the few who looked closely, it was clear. The ghosts weren't haunting anyone. They were studying them. It began with silence. Not the absence of sound, but something deeper, the kind of silence that exists before a storm. 6 months after humanity's re-entry into the Galactic Council, something changed in the pattern of galactic communication. Long-range networks, normally buzzing with trade reports and diplomatic chatter, grew empty. Then came the disappearances. First, an observation post near the Epsilon Rim. Then 2 Sarah patrol fleets. Then a colony world called Virella, gone, every inhabitant erased from existence, leaving cities intact but lifeless. No explosion. No distress calls. Just absence. And always, the same trace left behind, a digital echo, a faint electromagnetic signature known only to pre-collapse Terran encryption. For most of the galaxy, it was unthinkable. For the Sarah Empire, it was an insult. The Empire's council representative, Lord Marshal Dravken, called for an emergency session. This is no coincidence, he declared before the Great Assembly. The humans reappear, and the galaxy trembles. They bring with them ancient codes, ancient ghosts, and now entire fleets vanish. Admit it. This is their doing. Humanity's delegate, Director Crowley, didn't flinch. He waited for the silence to return, and then said, calmly. If your fleets are missing, Lord Marshal, then perhaps you should ask where they were looking. It wasn't a denial. It wasn't even a threat. It was something colder, a suggestion. The Council demanded transparency. They wanted full access to Terran technology, to their outer system defenses, to the mysterious fleet command that Crowley always deferred to but never explained. The humans agreed. They opened their networks. They showed their cities, their orbitals, their shipyards, but everything felt curated. Every file, every transmission, every system log was too precise, too controlled, as though someone had built an illusion perfectly tailored to satisfy curiosity. The Council saw everything it wanted to see, and nothing it needed to. Meanwhile, small details began to surface. Merchant captains spoke of black ships drifting through deep space, vessels with no transponders, silent but unmistakably human in design. They didn't attack. They didn't communicate. They simply appeared, lingered, and vanished again into the void. The name spread quickly across the outer systems. The Ghost Fleet. The Sarah Empire laughed at the rumors. Fairy tales, they said. Human propaganda. But their laughter didn't last long. A month later, the Sarah warship Equerry's flame intercepted one of these ghosts near the border of human space. The Terran vessel didn't respond to hails. The Equerry locked weapons, demanding identification. The Terran ship stayed silent. And then, in a single flash, the Sarah ship lost every system simultaneously: weapons, engines, communications, even gravity. It drifted powerless for 13 hours before self-destructing in panic to avoid capture. The last log entry recovered from the wreck recorded a single, fragmented transmission. "We are not your enemy, unless you make us one." The Sarah Empire saw enough. They mobilized. 2,000 warships gathered at the edge of human space, the largest military force assembled since the last galactic war. Every eye in the galaxy turned toward Sol, waiting for the inevitable. But when the Sarah fleet arrived, they found nothing. No defenses. No fleets. Just a single Terran transmission beacon orbiting Neptune. It broadcast one message. "We accept your declaration of hostility. You may proceed." That was it. No panic. No diplomacy. No plea. Just permission. For 3 days, the Sarah Armada advanced deeper into the Sol system. They expected resistance, orbital cannons, hidden mines, ambush fleets, but there was only silence. Earth's orbitals were dark. Mars was quiet. Even the moon seemed abandoned. Then, on the 4th day, their sensors detected something strange: a fleet. Hundreds of signatures, faint and flickering, just beyond Pluto's orbit. The Sarah commander ordered pursuit. His last transmission was recorded in the Council's archive. "We are engaging unidentified Terran vessels. Their hulls are phasing in and out. It's like they're..." The message ended there. No wreckage was ever found. The Council demanded answers, but humanity provided none. Director Crowley only stood before the assembly and said, "We told you we were preparing. You didn't ask for what?" He paused, then added something else, a phrase that would echo through every communication channel for centuries. "We are not rebuilding an empire. We are rebuilding a memory." No one understood what he meant. But the Harari did. The Harari envoys met privately with the human delegation. What was said in that meeting was never officially recorded, but rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed the Harari were terrified. Others said they bowed their heads in respect, or fear. When questioned. Later, the Harari High Elder said only this: "The humans have seen something we have forgotten. And they remember it too well." Meanwhile, the Sarah Empire was in chaos. Half its fleets had gone silent. Colonies along the frontier were abandoning their posts. Supply chains collapsed as merchants refused to travel near Terran space. And then, humanity made their move. Not through war. Not through invasion. Through communication. Every major government in the galaxy received the same encrypted data burst. Within it was a single sentence, and a star map. The sentence read: "Do not follow the signal. Do not search the dark between galaxies. What sleeps there is not dead." The coordinates pointed far beyond the rim, beyond the reach of any known civilization. The galaxy ignored the warning. Of course it did. Empires thrive on curiosity. On conquest. And humanity, as the galaxy would soon learn, understood that better than anyone. In the following weeks, reports surfaced of isolated incidents, strange transmissions in deep space, whispers of entire survey crews vanishing without a trace. Each disappearance was followed by the same phenomenon. An old Terran encryption pulse. The Ghost Fleet had moved again. Some said it was humanity's secret weapon, a fleet of AI-controlled vessels preserving the last command of ancient Earth: watch the stars, and never forget. Others believed something else entirely, that the ghost fleet wasn't attacking at all. It was warning. Because when the Sarah Empire finally attempted to trace one of the signals, their probe returned a fragment of an ancient Terran recording, a voice, distorted but human. They are not coming for us. They are coming for you. The galaxy was now holding its breath. The humans had done what no empire, no army, no godlike civilization had managed in millennia: they'd made the galaxy afraid again. But fear was only the beginning. Because the ghost fleet wasn't humanity's weapon. It was their message. For months, the galaxy held its breath. The Sarah Empire's silence became a wound in the fabric of interstellar order. Systems once burning with light went dark. Supply chains shattered. Even the fearless Kotal traders refused to venture near human space. And through it all, the Terrans remained quiet. No fleets paraded. No statements were made. Only one message ever came from Sol, a single broadcast, repeating endlessly across all frequencies. Do not search the void. The Council ignored it. The empires mocked it. But the Harari, they listened. Because they remembered something. Something older than every civilization that now ruled the stars. A Harari elder once told a human scholar, the universe is not empty, it only appears patient. When humanity vanished 500,000 years ago, that patience ended. The Harari archives, forbidden even to most of their own, spoke of an ancient presence beyond the galactic rim, a structure so vast it distorted the path of starlight itself. They called it the architects. The builders of civilizations, and their destroyers. The last human empire had tried to reach them. That was the story. But the truth was darker. Humanity hadn't gone to meet the architects. They had gone to fight them. The first Terran civilization had discovered them accidentally. A network of structures, dormant, half alive, older than the galaxy itself. They were the reason every species eventually rose and fell in predictable cycles. The reason progress always stopped at the edge of transcendence. The architects had engineered the pattern, guiding evolution, shaping cultures, pruning those that reached too high. When humanity understood that, they didn't beg. They didn't worship. They resisted. The war that followed was never recorded in galactic history because no one survived to tell it. Humanity burned its own empire, sealed its archives, and vanished, not defeated, but hidden, carrying fragments of forbidden knowledge deep beneath the ruins of Sol. They called it the Great Silence. And now, 500,000 years later, the silence was breaking. When the Sarah Empire traced the Ghost Fleet's signals into deep space, they found something waiting. Not ships. Not weapons. A monument. It wasn't human. A lattice of black structures orbiting an invisible core, emitting no heat, no light, yet somehow absorbing signals, bending gravity, whispering across time. The Sarah fleet approached, recording everything. Then they disappeared. But the signal didn't. It reached Sol, on purpose. The humans had been waiting for it. Director Crowley addressed the Galactic Council one final time. The transmission was brief, without emotion, without ceremony. The architects have awakened, he said. They will look for us, all of us. Not just humans. Every voice that learned to speak. The chamber erupted in chaos. Empires shouted. Councils demanded proof. Crowley waited, impassive, until the noise faded. Then he said. You call us ghosts. You were right. We are the memory of what comes next. And with that, the transmission ended. No human communication was ever received again. Days later, every Terran outpost went dark simultaneously. The Sol system vanished behind an energy field so vast it distorted nearby spacetime, a silent veil of white light that consumed all observation. Probes that entered never returned. Ships that approached vanished from existence. Some said humanity had ascended. Others said they had fled. But the Harari knew better. They said, the Terrans have taken their position. A century passed. The galaxy rebuilt itself, as it always did. The Sera Empire, broken and diminished, fractured into smaller states. The Council reformed. New alliances rose and fell. But the fear never left. Every now and then, an automated beacon would drift into the outer systems, old Terran technology, carrying fragments of data, each one bearing the same inscription. We are watching the edge. At first, no one paid attention. Until one day, the stars themselves began to flicker. In the far rim, beyond the galactic halo, telescopes detected impossible structures, massive arcs of light forming geometric constellations that shouldn't exist. The pattern matched ancient human records, data extracted from Terran archives before they vanished. The architects were moving again. And for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy realized what humanity had been doing all along. They hadn't rebuilt for vengeance. They hadn't returned for power. They had come back to prepare the galaxy for what was coming, to build a warning, a trap, a wall of memory between existence and extinction. It was the Harari who deciphered the final Terran transmission, buried deep within the Ghost Fleet's encrypted network, found centuries later. It wasn't a weapon log. It wasn't a threat. It was a message. To whoever finds this. We were never gods. We were never monsters. We were human. That is all. The architects erased us once. They will try again. When they do, remember this. The smallest flame can still teach the dark to fear. The message ended there. But attached to it was a single coordinate string, pointing to the same monument where the Sera fleet disappeared. When explorers finally reached it, they found the lattice empty. Only one thing remained, a single Terran vessel, drifting silently in orbit. Its name was Remembrance. Inside, a lone AI core pulsed faintly, repeating one final line into the void. Humanity endures. And across the endless dark between galaxies, something stirred. A light. A pulse. A question, ancient and terrible. Who remembers us? And somewhere, beyond the veil of soul, an answer came, cold, resolute, and unmistakably human. We do.